So what's this session about? So we are absolutely delighted to be partnering with Police Scotland tonight for this really, really important topic. And we're going to be, well, Police Scotland are going to be talking about online safety, ensuring children and young people learn to stay safe online. And that is the absolute priority. They're going to give you some information about online safety, and they are from the Cybercrime Harm Prevention team. And as I said, there will be opportunities for questions towards the end of the session. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Connect, because I know not everyone here tonight will be aware of who we are and what we do as an organisation. We are the only charity and membership organisation for parent groups in Scotland. We currently have 26 local authorities taking out membership for their parent councils. And we also work with other parent groups like PTAs and other parent-led organisations who take out their own membership. We're all about partnerships in education, supporting parents and helping them to have their voice heard in all matters relating to education. We speak to parents on a weekly basis on information sessions like this, and we use the information through those sessions and through our social media platforms and surveys to help us to sort of prioritise our own work. We also work very closely with partners like Scottish Government, local authorities and people like Police Scotland, as we are doing tonight. So if you want more information about what we do, have a look at a couple of these links here. And certainly we're always happy to answer any questions if you're keen to get involved in what we are doing. So now I am going to hand you over to Police Scotland. So hopefully you can all join me in saying a huge welcome to Police Scotland for joining us tonight for this really, really important this really, really important topic. So say hello to Detective Inspector Alistair Penny of Police Scotland from the Cybercrime Harm Prevention team, and Detective Constable Ewan Ross, who also works in the same team. So I'm going to hand you over, and thank you so much again for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Diane. As everyone else has been putting in the chat, I may as well just say I'm from down in Ayrshire, so hello to any other fellow Ayrshire men and women down here. As Dan said, I'm Alistair Penny. I'm in charge of Police Scotland's Cybercrime Harm Prevention team. Really great to see him, and what will hopefully be a useful chat about online safety, not only for you, but for your family as well. Just before we start, I just take 5 minutes to talk about why I think it is really important to talk about online safety. My team kind of looks to continually develop practices and policies in relation to cybercrime prevention and protection, working with partners to raise awareness of online harms. And it's important to say the internet can be wonderful for children. It can be used to research school reports. It can be communicate with teachers and other kids and play interactive games. But online access also comes with risks like scams and grooming. And certainly recently it's been brought into the public's consciousness with the Netflix drama Adolescence and cyberbullying and the incel culture, for example, as well as kind of reports into tragic cases of sextortion. Now, we wouldn't let our children wander the streets alone because of the threat of physical danger, but we can inadvertently turn a blind eye to the threat of the online world by letting our children explore the internet, which is often unsupervised and unprotected. And social media is everywhere. We wouldn't take our 8-year-olds to see a 15 rating film at the cinema, but by signing up to social media accounts, for example, we're giving them access to what could be totally inappropriate content for their age. In the online world, where so much of our childhood is spent, is not designed for childhood safety and with their best interests in mind. So I remember a time, as I show my age here, that there was no internet. So I was very much outside playing all the time, while my children now, they're in the house online playing with their friends, but all in separate houses. So it's just a generational change. But we need to keep talking to our children about what they're seeing online. I think that the research has been carried out, and about 50% of children, so that's up to the age of 17, have seen online content that they felt was inappropriate or made them feel worried or upset. And interestingly, it's boys that are more likely than girls to have seen that harmful content. And I think it's important to recognise that children will take risks. It's human nature. We've all pushed boundaries when we were younger, and I accept that. But it's really important just to raise the awareness of online safety and empowering the children and young people just to recognise potential risks and how to report them. Because they could literally be putting themselves in harm's way by sitting on the sofa opposite you, for example, whilst they're on their phone and you're none the wiser of what they're up to. And because of some offences like sextortion, for example, children and young people might not ask for help. They might not recognise they are being exploited or that they've been threatened, or they may be embarrassed and they believe that they've actually acted unlawfully. And there really needs to be no blame and no shame when we're talking about online safety. Now, what we're going to do here is it's about a 20-minute presentation. It's a whistle-stop tour of internet safety. We'll signpost you to where to look for further information because we could spend hours upon hours on just in each topic alone. But this is just about raising awareness and looking to kind of answer as many questions as we can afterwards. But hopefully the key theme to take away from this is please speak to your child or young person. It's probably also worth highlighting that some of the topics that we'll cover may be upsetting. So if you need to step away, feel free to do so, because we'll be sharing links to the guidance that you can read in your own time. So I'll pass over to my colleague Ewan Ross, who will discuss these things in more detail. And if you have any questions, as Dan said, if you wait until the end of the presentation, and we'll get to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Inspector. Thank you, Diane. Good evening, everybody. It's great to see such a healthy crowd tonight, and I can see you from all over the country as well. So my name's Ewan Ross. I'm one of the DCs in the Cybercrime Harm Prevention team. We're a small team, but we're a national unit, and we cover the whole country. I'm from Aberdeenshire. So as the Inspector said, it's going to be a short 20-minute presentation today, touching on a range of kind of cybersecurity topics and cyber crime harm prevention. At the end of that, we'll give you plenty of time to ask us any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. So an old story, Romeo and Juliet. What would it look like in the modern day? Star-crossed lovers, messaging over Instagram, Snapchat, sending snaps, all without their parents being aware. I'm just going to play a short video now. So that video just highlights that although technology and social media are constantly changing, children and young people don't change. Just as when you and I were young, kids are still exploring their identities, keeping up with friends, and exploring adolescent pressures. And although much of this now happens in the online world, the advice and guidance we give them in the real world will also help keep them safe online. Next slide, please. So most of us see our online lives and offline lives as different, but for the next generation, for the kids growing up with technology and the internet, there is no difference. Online life and offline life is just life. And in 1990, a British inventor, Tim Berners-Lee, invented the World Wide Web as we know it today. And he has been quoted to say of the World Wide Web, humanity uses the web, and if you look at humanity, you'll see good and bad stuff. So as such, the internet and online world was never designed with children's safety, well-being, and best interests in mind. But it is where so much of modern-day childhood is now spent. And we all enjoy the convenience of a digital world, be that to bank, to work, for education, to play games, to travel, to pay for things. An online world has become increasingly easy to navigate and access using a wide range of devices. It's an amazing place with loads of benefits for education, making and maintaining friendships, leisure pursuits, and just engaging with wider society. But it can be a double-edged sword that also brings challenges. It comes with risks such as cyberbullying, cyber predators, radicalization. There's a vast array of scams and frauds out there, and also risks with loss of privacy. So it's our responsibility to support our kids and young people in the online world and understand what it is now like for them to grow up in that environment. But despite all these risks, it is still a lot to be gained for kids through the online world. Next slide, please. So as I've said, online world and offline world are now very hard to differentiate from each other, and kids spend large portions of their day online. Every year, Ofcom and the UK regulator for comm services produce a report looking at children's internet use and attitudes to media. And this is just some findings from the most recent 2024 report. So the slide here shows the top 5 apps across age groups. So you can see YouTube is consistently popular across all ages, with WhatsApp, TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram becoming increasingly popular the older that kids become. Interestingly, there's no sign of Facebook or X, which are both popular platforms with adults. Kids just don't engage with it very much at all. I'm not going to bamboozle you with facts, but just to kind of hit home the early age that kids are going online. The Ofcom survey showed that a quarter of kids aged 5 to 7 now own a smartphone, and about 3/4 of this age group have access to a tablet or a computer. And social media use in the youngest age group as well has increased to 38% of kids that age now using social media platforms. And a lot of people are unaware, I was myself till I started this job, that the correct minimum age requirement for most social media platforms is 13 years old. And that is because in the UK, the age of consent for digital sharing is 13 years old. Next slide, please. So what are the main risks that we see for our children and young people? Police Scotland are aware that various forms of online risk exist, but from what we see being reported to ourselves and research, these are the most common forms of online abuse. So we've got cyberbullying and harassment, intimate image sharing, non-consensual intimate image sharing, and online grooming. And just to say, these risks can be heightened for neurodivergent kids. They've got a lot to gain from the internet and online world, but also they can experience more harm due to content, conduct, and conduct risks. So come to speak about cyberbullying and harassment. Sadly, bullying has always existed, and it's part of many young people's daily lives. But due to our engagement in the online world, bullying now no longer stops at the school gates. With increased interactions online, cyberbullying and harassment has become increasingly prevalent and has eroded the sanctuary of previous safe spaces, such as the family home. And it can be defined as when a person bullies or harasses others on the internet and or social media sites. And there's many forms of it, such as posting rumors, online threats, sexual remarks, and making personal information public. But that's by no means an exhaustive list. Unfortunately, there's no set standard behavior in response to being bullied. You will know your child best, and for them, what is kind of the baseline behavior and what's maybe out of the ordinary. But be available to talk to your child about their worries and make sure they know who to turn to for support. That could be yourself, a teacher, or there's various organizations online, such as Childline, that can offer that support and help. Then we've got non-consensual intimate image sharing. And that is the act of sharing intimate images or videos of someone either on or offline without their consent. And this also includes things such as cyber flashing, revenge porn, and use of artificial intelligence to create deep nudes, images, and videos. And when we say intimate, what do we mean? Intimate images are images and videos of people who are naked, showing their genitals, engaging in sexual activity, or poses, or wearing underwear in compromising situations. And the police do recognise this as a serious form of abuse. So it's important that if somebody has shared your images online or are threatening to do so, that you report it to Police Scotland. Also, if a non-consensually shared images have been put on an online platform, get in touch with them and see if they can get the images taken down. Then we've got grooming, and that is when a relationship is built with a child or young person with the intent to sexually abuse, exploit, or traffic them. It can be done online or face-to-face and can be orchestrated by a stranger or somebody the young person or child knows. It's rare for a child to tell you they're being groomed, but again, if you've got any concerns at all, then please get in touch with Police Scotland. Um, next slide, please. So, sextortion. Now, that's a type of online blackmail. Adult criminals, often from OCG, so that's organized crime groups, will threaten to share nude or semi-nude images and or videos of a young person unless they pay them or carry out some other kind of demand. And sextortion can be from sexual indecent images that have been sent to somebody through contact online, where the criminal has pretended to be a fellow young person. Or the other method, although it's more uncommon, they can be stolen, taken through hacking, or faked using artificial intelligence generators or other image altering technology. And the criminal may then demand money, gift cards, or Bitcoin, and they may try and force a young person to do something they don't want to do, such as sharing more intimate images or giving access to their bank accounts. Just to add a caveat to this, it's not just young people who fall victim to this type of crime, and Police Scotland see adults of all ages falling victim to sextortion scams. And to help prevent extortion, it's really important to chat to young people about it to help build their trust and give them the confidence to come to you for help if something happens online. Online sexual encounters with strangers are now considered to be socially acceptable, and it's often a common behavior we see amongst the victim demographic. There is some typical signs of an extortion to look out for. The person you're speaking to online may be moving really fast. They'll try and quickly develop a relationship with you, become really flirty, be quick to say they like you, and ask for sexual indecent images from you. A common tactic is they will send you an indecent image first to try and encourage you to do the same. They'll also press you to do things you're not comfy with, such as sexual acts. And also they might tell you that they've hacked you, or they may have access to your contacts and use that to leverage you, say they've got embarrassing images, and then get you to give them money or do whatever other demand they have. Next slide, please. So Fearless is a dedicated youth arm of Crime Stoppers, and they've recently launched a campaign to target online sextortion in Scotland. And this is their general manager, Lindsay McCabe here. Just a short video from her, please.
Our advice would be don't panic, don't pay or comply with whatever the criminal is wanting you to do, and get help. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's the middle of the night, the people that are around you that love you want to be woken up. They wouldn't want you to be alone dealing with this. But I think over and above those sort of fundamental key messages, I think it's really important to make clear to our young people that, you know, nothing is too embarrassing, nothing is too shameful or awkward or difficult. No matter what happens, you love them, you care for them, and you're absolutely in their corner.
So just to reiterate, many young people may be fearful they've committed a crime by sending intimate images, but that is not the case. Police Scotland will treat them as a victim, will treat them in confidence, and we're there to get justice for the young person. Next slide, please. Online gaming is really popular now, and most youngsters are engaged in it in some form or another. Online games such as Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox, and EA Sports FC can be a great way for children and young people to keep busy and stay in touch with friends and family online. But it is important that they play safely. It does come with risks such as bullying, trolling. That's when players will deliberately attack each other, scams, and there's also a risk there with unsolicited communication with strangers. So it's important to talk to your child about what they enjoy playing online and how those games function and operate. There's also some tips that can help you. It's worth checking the game is age appropriate and check the different features and functions of the game and is that suitable for your child. Most games come with an age rating operated by PEGI, works in much the same way as it does with films. So it's worth checking that out and also be mindful if you've got more than one child at home, what game is suitable for one child might not necessarily be suitable for a younger child. Also, be really wary of your in-game purchases. A lot of games now require you to buy extra credits or pay money to buy skins, etc. And I've got a few pals been caught out with this. Their credit cards have been linked to online games, and the kids have just gone wild buying loads of credits, etc. on the game. So make sure your credit card isn't linked to a game, and a kid has to get authorization from yourself before buying anything. Also, be aware of games that come with location sharing. Some games will show where a child is at the time they're using it, which does have safety concerns. So explore the various function of a game and agree rules about where and when they can play it. Also check out the settings to see if you can disable location sharing. And also talk to your child about what communication functions a game have. Again, use the settings to try and negate any chats with strangers or set it up so they can only chat to authorized friends there, just to try and limit that interactions with strangers and kind of dangers of grooming, etc. Next slide, please. So incel culture and online misogyny has recently sparked debate in the national consciousness. I think a lot of that is down to a recent Netflix not documentary, drama, Adolescence, which, although is a fictional drama, does have some basis in real life. So incel stands for involuntary celibate, and it's a term used by people who feel rejected by society, particularly in terms of romantic relationships. They believe that 80% of women exclude all but 20% of men in terms of attractiveness and success from any romantic or sexual relationships, which then forces the rest into involuntary celibacy. And this subculture, they often promotes negative and misogynistic views about women and relationships. It promotes negative beliefs about women, fueling hostility and harmful ideologies. And in recent years, there's been a small but growing number of violent attacks which have been put down to individuals radicalized online through the incel culture. The, the community almost exclusively operates online. Incel groups thrive in forums and they target vulnerable teens and spread dangerous ideas. Forums and platforms like Reddit, 4chan, and Discord all allow this misogynistic content to spread quite easily. Unfortunately, recently, mainstream social media platforms are increasingly being used to promote incel content, including misogyny, sexism, violence, and misinformation, which may well lead to more vulnerable young people becoming pulled into the incel culture. There's also a number of influencers and controversial public figures who stray into problematic misogyny when advising young people online. And all this exposure to this content can affect self-esteem, mental health, and a young person's views on relationships. Incel communities often promote entitlement and revenge against women, leading to harassment and violence. So what can be done about this? Parents should make themselves aware of what their children are doing online and talk to them about the risks. Try and encourage open conversations, talk about healthy relationships, gender equality, and self-worth. Also, try and promote positive role models, introduce kids to role models who demonstrate respectful relationships, and teach critical thinking. Give the kids the tools and the skills to challenge what they read and see online and to verify any information that they see. Also, if you can, monitor what they're doing online. That could be through speaking to them and just seeing what they're actually doing. Next slide, please. So this kind of leads on to what's real and what's false online. Digital platforms have made it easy for anyone to share information online, and it can be really difficult to determine if something is real or false. False information that is spread online is known as disinformation or misinformation, and this can expose to issues such as online misogyny, like I've just mentioned. It can lead to hoaxes such as fabricated or false news stories, viral messages, deep fakes, and also memes. And there's loads of online scams out there that specifically target young people. Phishing emails sent to personal devices asking for personal information or containing blackmail demands. Some of these are really clever and professional looking. They look as if they're from credible organizations or businesses. You've got promotions of products or false adverts that contain untrue claims. You've got catfishing, somebody pretending to be someone else to trick them into doing something, like I mentioned with sextortion in an earlier slide. We got competitions or quizzes that lead you to believe there's a prize. And there's identity theft, where they'll gather enough information about a young person and then use that to get access to other accounts such as banking or email. There's also risk from online challenges involving sharing an image or a video of yourself doing a set task. These can be fun, but some become risky and they can lead to dangerous effects, physical or psychological harm. It's really important to combat misinformation and remind young people that not everything they see online is real, and encourage them to always check before they share online. Whatever you share online is likely to be there forever, so it's really important to think before you share or click on a link or open an email. Always question it before you do so. And also, if your child or young person comes across a hoax, a scam, or a risky online challenge, you should report it directly to the platform to try and get it removed, just to prevent any further victims. And if your child or young person has been scammed online, then you should report it to Police Scotland. Next slide, please. Recently, we always seem to get at least one question on artificial intelligence, and it's very much a hot topic in the media just now, so I'll touch on it briefly. Just to say, first of all, artificial intelligence is not new, and it's been around for at least 50 years, but it is a rise of generative artificial intelligence that's made it a hot topic. And that is AI that can create content that previously only humans could create. Young people are surrounded by AI already, including most toys, games, and internet platforms that are designed for kids and young people already using AI technology. An example of this is Netflix, when it recommends a new film or program to you, that's based on an algorithm that uses artificial intelligence. But like with any new technology, it also has dangers. It can spread bias, hate, and stereotypes. It can erode privacy, collecting huge amounts of data on us. And it can be used for bullying and fraud. Like I say, there's AI image generators that can create nudes that can be used to blackmail kids. There's also AI voice cloning that can clone voices and be used for a number of different scams. However, we can talk to young people about AI and issues of privacy, bias, bullying, and general online safety. It's really important that we help manage young people's online privacy. And as they get older, we give them the tools to do that themselves. So a bit of a drip effect. The older they get, we give them the tools to do more and more themselves. So when they're adults, they'll know how to manage their online safety independently. It can also help to try out artificial intelligence together, just to see how it works and point out to a young person any concerns that you have. And just to say, finally, it's important that we don't worry. Artificial intelligence should also come with a load of benefits for society as a whole. It's not all doom and gloom. Next slide, please. So a lot of folk have the misconception you have to be an IT expert to help keep young people and children safe online, but that's not the case. One of the best things that you can do to protect your kid is to have that talks with them about their use of technology, just as you would do with any other aspect of parenting. Having an open and honest approach is best. Reacting without involving them or talking to them can push behavior underground. So they will still go and do that behavior, but they just won't tell you about it and you don't know what's happening. And some conversations naturally will be very tricky, such as if you're worried they're viewing online pornography or perhaps been sharing nudes. As with any conversation, it's best to tackle this when you're calm, balanced, and non-judgmental. Don't tackle it if you're feeling highly emotional. There's also various online resources out there, which we'll signpost at the end of the presentation, which can give you kind of the tools and advice to have that conversation with a child or young person. In conjunction with conversation, well-being controls and privacy settings can also be used, and they can help manage screen time, block inappropriate content, prevent accidental spending, and keep strangers away. They can be useful, but I would just say that as kids grow older, they can cause resentment, and kids are often one step ahead of us when it comes to technology and can circumnavigate these types of controls quite easily once they get the skills to do so. It's also important to manage your child's digital footprint, ensuring they have a strong and secure password, that they update their apps and devices regularly, and even have them implement multi-factor authentication. That just gives that extra level of protection there. These are all other good measures to use to help keep them safe online. Next slide, please. So to help combat online abuse, it's important to help manage our child's digital footprint, which is a trail of data left behind when using the internet or digital device. Most of us, myself included, grew up with no or limited digital footprint, but for the generation coming up now, it's a very real concern and could have long-lasting impacts on their future. Something maybe post when they're a teenager can come back to haunt them 10, 15 years' time. And there's numerous cases of celebrities falling foul of this for something they posted as a teenager. So what develops a digital footprint? Basically anything you do in a digital world, so emails, social media, messenger, banking, dating apps, photo sharing, gaming, geolocation services, applications. All of these add to your digital footprint. So why should we care about that? Well, once something is shared online, it is there forever, and information may not always be under your control. Don't make it easy for people to gain information about you. A badly managed digital footprint could end up making a real life you vulnerable because of actions of the digital you. So what can we do? Well, promote digital hygiene and help kids understand how everything they do online creates a digital footprint that can last forever. And it's really difficult to keep things online private. Make sure they think before they post. And anything that they do post could be viewed by thousands of people, including their granny, their neighbors, their cousins, their friends. Also important to utilize privacy settings there on any digital platforms you use, just to make sure they're kept tight and reduce that risk there. Also, it's a good idea to be a good digital citizen yourself and promote that positive online behavior and social media profile yourself. So the kids see that and they then copy it and act on it. Be a good digital citizen also and treat people online how you would face to face. And finally, it's a good idea when a child stops using a website or a social networking profile that they deactivate it, or even better, delete it entirely, just to help limit the risk of that digital footprint being out there and data being leaked. Next slide, please. Okay, I know there's quite a lot of scary topics there, but there's a lot of help and support and guidance out there. So Police Scotland can get in touch with us on the emergency 999 number or the non-emergency 101 number. There's also an online form on the Police Scotland website you can use to report any concerns. And our team as well, the Cybercrime Harm Prevention team, we've got a load of guidance on the Police Scotland website on various cyber topics and loads of signposts in there, advice and guidance on how to help you. And also there's loads of other kind of private, public sector and government advice out there. And here's just a few I've selected. So you've got CEOP, the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre, and they help prepare you for conversations with your child about online harm. There's loads of advice there, and it's all tailored for different age groups, depending on the age of your child. Then we've got the Parent Club, which is run by the Scottish Government, and that's loads of tips and information on how to protect your child from the dangers of the online world. We've got internetmatters.org and Get Safe Online. They give loads of advice on various different games, applications, and devices, and the settings and guidance you can use there to make those apps and games and platforms as safe as you can. And finally, we've got Report Remove, and that's a tool for under 18s in the UK to confidentially report sexual images and videos of themselves and get them removed from the internet. Also, there's always new games and apps being released as well, so it's always worth using Google or a search engine just to research what safety settings can be implemented and how to kind of keep those games and apps secure. Next slide, please. Okay, as you said, a very whistle-stop tour of all things cyber there. We thought it was important to touch on a lot of topics and then give you lots of time for any questions that you may have. So I'll hand back to Diane. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Detective Constable Ewan. Thank you for that. That was really helpful. So I would invite anyone to ask any questions now, and myself and my colleagues. So Marion is here, and there's a few other colleagues there who are going to help to try and feed some questions through. So what I'm going to do is a couple of questions were sent in to us through email. So I'm going to start with them because they had specifically contacted us to ask, and they will start to work through the questions in the chat, and my colleagues can keep an eye on it. But as I say, thank you so much. So here we go with the first question. So some of these questions I can see through the chat are directed to schools as well, and perhaps myself and my colleagues can direct parents to go to the parent councils and head teachers with some of these. But this first question is saying, could schools put more emphasis on teaching kids about online predator behavioural traits? So I suppose I don't know if you've got any advice or any signposting about how, because I can address the kind of curriculum and the school issue in a second, but I suppose just generally for parents and how they can help their children to understand the sort of that behavioural traits of online predators. And she'd given this person, I don't know if it's a him or a her, had given an example of their child being on Discord and a negative experience coming from the back of that, and this person's just saying like need more help and support to help families to learn about online safety controls like that. So do you have anything for that example?
Yeah, there's a load of good resources there. I'd recommend the C Up resources I highlighted a couple of slides ago. Um, Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre. They've got a load of good resources and how to keep yourself safe online and kind of what behaviour to look from. But I think the overarching theme across the whole presentation has been conversation. So have that chat with your child so you know what they're doing online, you know who they're speaking to, who they're interacting with. And then hopefully if they do have any concerns, if anybody's raised any red flags to them when they've been online, they'll approach you and make you aware of what is going on in the online sphere.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. In terms of questions directed to schools and what schools could do from a parent council perspective, if your school has a parent council, then it's an item that could be put on the agenda of your parent council to ask about how the school or the local authority is addressing online safety within the curriculum. So that could be a topic for discussion within your parent council. It might be something that the parent council want to raise directly to the head teacher and the senior leadership team to ask about information, and maybe then work on disseminating some helpful information, maybe some signposting to the parent community. Online safety is covered as part of the curriculum and it's implemented throughout the years of school. So again, if you're interested to know a bit more about that, you can look up online for the curriculum information, or again, just go direct to your school teacher or your head teacher or your parent council and make inquiries about what's being covered around that. So it certainly is an important topic that can be discussed and led and supported by the senior leadership team and your parent council. So I would certainly get it on the agenda if that's something that's going to come at the back of this information session. The next question was, I have a 15-year-old, and I think I think we're all interested in the answer to this question, because I think it's the balance between us as parents giving our young people as they get older their independence, and then it's the balance of invasion of privacy. So it's like, at what point is it okay, not okay to check your child's phone? So this person said, I have a 15-year-old, they're pretty open. The agreement is that they do check the phone, but there is that element now of worry about that balance between trust, independence, and privacy and where the line is. And I know it's probably quite a difficult question to answer because it's maybe not necessarily about age, but I just wondered if you do have any comments about that balance of parenting and privacy and children's rights and all this. It all kind of mashes together, doesn't it? What can we do as parents in that aspect about checking our kids' phones?
It's a tricky one, and I guess it's ever changing as well. And it also depends on your child, I suppose, how mature they are, how open they are with you, how much you trust them. You'll know your child best. I guess there's no one answer. There's no one answer for each family. And also, like I said in the presentation as well, if you're too strict, you can maybe drive behavior underground so they don't tell you what's going on. And kids as well, they're really good at technology. They can overcome kind of well-being settings, etc., quite easily. So if you're too heavy-handed, you might just drive it underground. So again, just be open with them, try and encourage that conversation just over the dinner table, over the breakfast table, just so your kid feels secure and coming to you with any problems they're having, or you know what they actually are doing online.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. And this is the last one I've got that was sent on to me, and then we can look at the questions in chat. Is how can I make sure when my daughter is browsing online that she doesn't come across something that she shouldn't? I think you've kind of covered that in the presentation, but I don't know if you want to repeat any kind of key messages about, I suppose, like protecting young people from looking at things that they shouldn't.
Again, you could use kind of well-being settings and privacy settings to try and mitigate the risk of them seeing something that they shouldn't have. But unfortunately, these things happen and there's content out there they're likely to come across through either social media or browsing the internet. So I guess it's just giving them the skills as well to challenge anything they see or tell yourselves what they've witnessed so you can give them advice or guidance around it, report it as well if it's something upsetting to the internet platforms as well or social media platforms.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to move on to the questions in the chat, and I've started at the first couple of questions that came through. And this one I think is maybe an important one to hear the answer to as well, about if a person asks for intimate images of an under 18, is it a crime whether images are shared or not? And should we focus on making young people know that the request for the image is child sexual exploitation, whether it's from an adult or a child?
Yeah, if a child is a victim of sextortion, they will be treated as a victim. We're not going to criminalize them. We're there to help them. You know, they've been targeted by adults or organized crime groups to try and make money out of them or get leverage them for information. So we will treat it as a crime and treat them as a victim and look to get justice for them.
And if so the person who asks for that image, that will be treated as a crime. So whether it's a child that asks for the image, so if a child asks another child for an image, would that be treated as a crime? I don't know if that's how I'm reading the question.
So I'll just come in here. There is nuance to it. It's actually at 16 as the age. But as Ewan said, where we can evidence there's threats, there's manipulation, there's exploitation, then absolutely the victim will be treated just as a victim. And when we talk about sextortion, it's probably important to highlight that the vast majority of cases we see is when an individual slides into somebody's DMs and the victim does not know and has never met the perpetrator. And it's that's the type of sextortion that we're seeing is prevalent. It's not. We also see sextortion instances where it might be a classmate or somebody that they know, but the vast majority the victim has not met ever the perpetrator, and within minutes they're sharing intimate images. And that's like the person's not necessarily doing anything wrong. They're using their phone, they're pushing boundaries. That's what we do. They'll never be criminalized if we can evidence all that. But so it's new. It is nuance, and without kind of going down a rabbit hole of different scenarios, just because I'm kind of conscious of all the various questions. It's really important that once you share the image, and if your child, young person does that to even somebody they know, they still lost control of it because that person might then send the image to somebody else, and that's again that can be an offence. But it's really important to raise that awareness. This can happen, but just to have that second thought: is this the right thing to do? Well, there is absolutely no victim blaming going this because adults do this as well, as you said, and it can't. When it's consensual, it's consensual.
Yeah.
But once you have it, and I saw another question about digital footprint. Once you send it to somebody, you've lost control of it.
Yeah, that's out there. Okay, thank you for that. And also that there's so many complexities and nuances, as you say, within these scenarios. Okay, the next question was about virtual reality gaming, VR headsets, and the children being exposed to threatening behaviour, and that, is there anything they can do to protect children from exposure? I know you've addressed like there's websites and there's controls and protections. Is there anything additional? Because VR's that's quite a big thing now, isn't it, with young people? Is there anything specific or additional for protections with VR?
I suppose it just comes back to the parental settings. So parental settings, I'm not necessarily a big fan of that phrase, because no 14-year-old, 15-year-old wants to be controlled by their parents. And I think that just conjures that, but that's the term that there is. So the parental settings, look at the control, because essentially it's cyberbullying ultimately. So whenever you sit down and speak to your child, young person, about bullying, be it's in person at school, or it's via VR headsets, or it's via Fortnite or whatever, it's the same conversation. It's just a different mode of how the bullies are unfortunately doing it. So having a look at the parental settings, age appropriate content, reporting it to whatever platform it is as well. And again, that's all part of on the Police Scotland internet page and the various other signposts that you have talked about earlier on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks. In terms of, because I know you are not IT experts, so the deleting your digital footprint, so obviously you can delete apps and things like that, but I think it's quite a complicated world, as you've just said. If your image or your details are out there and it's someone else has got it, that becomes the complicated part of deleting it, because if you've lost control of it and it's out there in the world, then that's the difficulty of deleting it. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, once you put something online, you don't know where it's going to end up. You've lost control, as I've said, and it could end up anywhere, and it could be online for a long time, if not forever. So if you don't want it being out there, as I said, you don't want your granny seeing it, then think before you post.
Yeah, yeah, and I suppose that's some of maybe some of the focus for us in speaking to our kids about that danger of losing control of an image or information. There was a couple of questions there about schools, and I hope I addressed that in terms of the curriculum and what schools and teachers and what parents can do in terms of that collaborative work in schools. But there is a question there asking, do you go into schools? So I suppose, do you? So you're working with us here tonight, but do your colleagues, or would you go into a school? Would you do a parent council session for the parents? Would you do something quite local like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're a national unit, but we can also go into schools or give our colleagues the tools to go into schools. So a lot of schools have campus officers who kind of know the kids, know the teachers, and they're quite used to going in and doing presentations on various subjects and topics. So we can give them the tools to go and provide a school with an online safety advice if the schools and kids need it.
Mm. How do they contact you for that? Because I'm sure there'll be people looking to take you up in that offer. Is there a route to go down to get your teams involved in that then?
Uh,
Yeah, listen, I'll come in. So if the schools, I say, all have campus officers, so that the best place is for if the head teacher or teachers would prefer somebody kind of different to come in from the campus officer, then it goes through the campus officer, and the campus officer can either reach out to us or other colleagues. I should say that I have a very, very small team. Ewan and one of his other colleagues are based in Aberdeen. I've got somebody up in Lerwick, and I'm based down in Glasgow. So it's a small team, but we kind of upskill the campus officers. But in cybers, that's the joy of it. Changes regularly, so it's trying to keep on top of all the various harms there are, and upskill the campus officers so they can go out and deliver the key messaging. And there's also the internet page as well, which is being amended and discuss other things as well, so that there's a vast variety of things. We did a pilot down in East Ayrshire, speaking to all via the schools. We communicated that we did something similar to this essentially, and the local schools and parents groups communicated it. So we're looking to take some learning from that and presentations like this, and seeing how we can roll it out for each division, which covers different areas within Scotland, so they can go and do it themselves, as opposed to us trying to be stretched from from one end to the other. So it's a work in progress, but absolutely, this is council officers do it, and if it's a national audience, and my team's more than happy to take it on as well.
Yeah. And again, parent councils might want to link in with the head teacher about the digital teams. They might have some digital teams in your local authority departments or community development teams that are addressing some of these issues. So that might be a route to go down as well, looking for sort of help and support within your own local school community. There's another question here from Christine, which is an interesting one as well. What happens when someone sets up a digital page on you? This has happened to my son, and I've been advised by Police Scotland on 2 occasions that there's nothing that you can do. So I think if somebody else creates up maybe like a profile or something about, that you didn't create, but they've done it for you. Maybe another, one
Yeah.
young person setting one up for another young person, I think is the example.
To my knowledge, you should report it to the platform if you use to create that profile and evidence that you are who you say you are. And this has been kind of set up to kind of mimic you, take over your identity and report it to the platform, and hopefully they can take it down.
Yep, yeah. This is the problem with this online world now, that anyone can be anyone, and you see multiple profiles quite often on some of the social media platforms. So it's just trying to get it removed then through the platform.
And it
Eh,
comes back to your digital footprint. If you've got a lot of images and information out there, it makes it easier for somebody to copy you and create a profile online.
Yep, absolutely. Just shared a good tip here from Andrew. A good tip is to create a charging station in your home with all devices being charged out with the bedroom, meaning young people aren't receiving disturbed sleep by continuing to check throughout the night. So I think that is a good tip. We probably all should be doing that, the adults as well, probably. A question about is legal education given to students in Scotland? Again, with specific questions about the curriculum, I would go direct to your head teacher, put it on your parent council agenda, and get a discussion going about the content and what's been taught to the kids, and also where parents can get involved in that learning, both for themselves as parents, but as part of that home school sort of partnership, so that everybody's on the same page with that. So it's a good one to put on the parent council agenda, or just going direct to the head teacher or the teacher and asking those questions. Jill's asking any specific resources for teenagers, academy students, any details on good digital role models for this age group?
I've got a load of resources, but unfortunately it's not letting me copy and paste them into the chat. So what I'll maybe do is I can send it to yourself to then distribute to everybody who's attended tonight, if that would work.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
absolutely perfect. Yeah, because we'll compile information together and send it
Okay.
tomorrow. So, or whenever you get it, we've got everyone's details, so that would be great. If you have proof your child is being cyberbullied, do you have any advice on how to manage this? Is it something that we should be reporting to the police as a parent?
Bullying in itself is not a crime, although it can figure into criminality, say if somebody's been assaulted or property is being damaged. Um, so kind of depends on how they know the person doing the bullying as well. Are they fellow school people? Is it happening in school time? Maybe depends on school procedures as well. And maybe encourage your child not to be friends with them online or report it again to the platform.
Again, I'll come on that one as well. So, Ewan's bang on. Bullying in by itself is not a crime. It depends the nature of it. And so, if it's online, if anything's been said that's or shared as indecent, that's obscene, it's menacing, it's threatening, then it's possibly veering into the criminality stage. So, I don't want to say it's up to individuals if they want to report it to police or not. If you do so, take screenshots. That's potentially best evidence before things disappear. Um, or you can approach schools and try and deal with it that way if the perpetrator goes to the school as well. So there's different ways you can do it. If you think there's nothing wrong with going to the police. If you think, is it criminal, is it not? Because you're not the expert, go to the police and the police can advise you. But have some screenshots or something to kind of suggest this is what it is, and you can get the advice that way.
Yeah, yeah. There are other organisations like Respect Me that do work on bullying in Scotland as well, and that might be a route to go down as well. I can see we're just coming towards the 9 o'clock. There's a couple of questions that I could maybe just pull together to try and pull into to one question. Like I see another question about resources, and I get it. Parents aren't that great with social media, and like you both have said tonight, the kids are well ahead of us. By the time they work out what the barrier we put in front of them. They're at the next stage where we're trying to catch up with them. So I think there is a challenge here. And again, this is perhaps where parent councils can come together with the wider school and community to look and see how can you help and support one another to break down those barriers to understanding this world that's out there. So that it's maybe something about trying to create a community within your community, whether it's school or wider, maybe looking at local organisations within your community, join up with your community council, your community board, speaking to the community development team. And just seeing what's out there locally to try and see if you can use the school as a platform, or the parent council or the community council as a platform to try and bring people together to share that information. I know you guys are going to give us any resources. If you have anything additional that will cover that, that would be really brilliant. I think otherwise, there's been lots of thank yous. Somebody saying Police Scotland's social media guide is a great resource, so that's a really good recommendation. And people are saying thank you now, so I think this is a good opportunity for me to wrap up now. And we're very grateful for the fact that you said that you will come back again if that is helpful, and it looks like it possibly could be helpful. So I know we could have some discussions about that in the future. So I just do want to say thank you again to Detective Inspector Alistair Penny and Detective Constable Ewan for joining us this evening and for listening to all our questions and taking the time to go through this and giving us the signposting and the slide before. If whatever information you send over to us, we'll package it up and send it on. I think the sort of action points for parents within schools and parent councils is definitely to get this on your parent council agenda and start a conversation about how we support one another as parents and what we can do as a kind of wider community. So in that note, I will move the slide on to the last slide to say thanks everyone for attending this evening. A little poll should pop up on the screen just now, just for a wee quick evaluation. Is that right? Sometimes I say this and then Fiona reminds me we don't do that for webinars. No, we do. We've got one, right? So we've got literally a 3-second poll, if you don't mind answering, just so that we can get this instant feedback right away and get a sense of was this helpful or not. I appreciate the comments in chat as well, and that's given us a good indication that this has been helpful for some people. So we do hope to see you in the future for more partnership sessions like this, and then we'll absolutely let you know when we're going to meet up with Police Scotland again. So just want to wish everybody a really good evening, and thanks so much for your listening and your engagement tonight, and thanks again to Police Scotland for their time this evening. See you all later.